The historic thaw in U.S. Cuba relations is just weeks old, and still more questions than answers remain about how these two countries will work together. Joining us right now is Dr. Thaw Baboon, the president of ECHO Cuba, which is a nonprofit that has been working for the last 15 years to send resources to the church in Cuba. And Dr. Baboon, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
You have been following Cuba for all these years now, and then this seemingly abrupt policy change. What are your hopes for the country at this point in time based on what the Obama administration has announced?
Well, we're quite excited about it, and we believe that this is a new paradigm for the church and for religion in general in Cuba. We think that the church will now be challenged to emerge as one independent, holy, and passionate for Jesus Christ. So a smooth transition is possible, and we've been praying for this for a long time.
And when you talk about an independent church, do you think that there is the possibility for fewer restrictions on churches in Cuba at this point in time?
Absolutely. We think that this is one of the prayers and one of the aims of the leaders of the church in Cuba is that a process such as this would encourage the Cuban government to begin to open the doors further towards the areas of religious freedom and religion in general.
Mm-hmm. What have been some of the restrictions that churches in Cuba have had to work around, and what are you hoping for?
Well, it's what the church in Cuba is hoping for, and the pastors in Cuba, the leaders in Cuba are aiming and will use this opportunity to go after four specific areas. One, the dissolving or the closing of the Minister of Office of Religious Affairs, which polices and controls all aspects of religion in Cuba. The second thing that we'd like to see is the removal of the rule that prohibits the registration of new associations and churches, particularly the rule that prohibits the registration of new denominations in Cuba. There are denominations that didn't exist in Cuba prior to 1959, such as the Free Church of America, that are not allowed to even function in Cuba. We hope that that will go away. The third thing is the removal of the rule that provides the Cuban Council of Churches, which is a Cuban government organization with a monopoly to import and distribute all of the large quantities of Bibles and religious materials. And then fourth, and perhaps one of the really key aspects of this process that we think is possible, is to enact a law to protect the rights of the religious institutions to practice their ecclesiastical rights, their worship service, without interference from the government. This is what the Cubans have been asking for years. They call it la ley de culto, or the law that would be binding and handcraft, that would guide and provide guidance to the government to allow the church to function freely.
What are you hearing from the Cuban churches right now? How optimistic are they about these opportunities?
Well, they're actually, they don't know what's going on. They, as you know, in Cuba, they don't receive a lot of information. They depend on us to provide information for them. In some cases, they're a little nervous because they don't know what it all means. They're very hungry for information and for assistance and for guidance from us to help them go to the next step. So what we hear from them is mostly nervous energy.
All right, Dr. Thaw Baboon, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. My pleasure.